Kia ora. Welcome to Conversations with Wahine, brought to you by the Wellington branch of the National Council of Women, New Zealand.
Hi everyone and welcome to today's episode. Today I'm joined with Kate Tomsett, who is a 24-year-old clinical educator who works with the Pelvic Pain Foundation of Australia to deliver PPEP Talks, Period Pain and Endometriosis Program. The foundation works to provide awareness, education, clinical management and research around issues such as endometriosis. Kate says that we aim to reduce the time to diagnose endometriosis and increase engagement and education on how to recognize when pain is not normal. Through her work, Kate hopes to uplift the stigma around pelvic pain and women's issues. Kate, I'm so looking forward to talking to you. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashlyn. I am so excited to have a chat.
And I appreciate you getting up early. It is quite early where you are, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you. I was actually at a beautiful show last night by a New Zealand playwright, so it was definitely worth a bit of a sleep in this morning. But
who are you at? Do we get a shout out?
It was his name was Nathan Cho, and it was a very small play. It's called Scenes from a Yellow Peril. It was a beautiful telling of individual stories, and yeah, it was all based in Aotearoa. So I absolutely loved it. If you do get to see it, if he ever does bring it back to New Zealand, go for it.
Okay. That's a hot tip first thing in the morning for the listeners. I like that. Kate, can you tell us a little bit about the foundation, the PPE Talk, and how it got started?
Yes, most definitely. I love that you start with this question because it's so important for me and everyone to remember that we really do stand on the shoulders of giants. This concept of pelvic pain, period pain, endometriosis was not born last year or a few years ago. I joke that it all actually started when Susan Evans was born, our director. She's absolutely fabulous. She's a unicorn. It's she got bored of being a gynecologist and obstetrician, so she went and retrained again as a pain specialist. So she's just this culmination. Such a boss woman. Absolutely love her. And I think it's always been there, right? We've always had period pain and pelvic pain and endo, but how PEP was born was probably in 2011. Susan published an article with Deb Bush, one of your New Zealand locals, absolutely fabulous woman. And they published a report on the $6 billion woman and the $6 million girl. And that was to pretty much outlay the physical cost of what it is for these people to be living with period pain and endometriosis. And so from there, they got government conversations happening. We ran our very first pilot study. So the PEP Talk stands for Periods, Pain and Endometriosis Program. And the very first pilot was in 2017 down in South Australia. We started to get some traction, some parliamentary action was happening. We had the Federal Parliamentary Friends of Endo got together, and they made in 2018 the National Action Plan for Endometriosis, which was a world first. No other country has ever had a national action plan for endo. And then through that, we got funding. So in 2021 was when the Federal Health Department granted funding for nationwide schools to receive the PEP Talk, so Periods, Pain, Endo program, and they committed to 4 years of funding. So that's when I came on board. At the end of 2021, 22, I was studying to be a paramedic. I was literally on road working and doing my placement, and this job came up and I was like, oh my gosh, that's that's absolutely perfect.
What a change.
Yes and no. I was it's the beautiful baby of everything I wanted in life, because I did my honors in biomolecular science. I studied the gut microbiome and pregnancy, and the idea being, how can we help with gestational diabetes and hypertension? And I loved it, but didn't love throwing things around a lab by myself. And I've been a dance teacher ever since I could help little people. So loved the dancing, the being in front of people, talking. And then, I was seeing so many patients already. I was a very fresh paramedic, but already seeing so many people suffering. in pain and having, when you're in pain, the last thing you want to do is call an ambulance and stay at the hospital for 5 hours. You'd rather be curled up in bed and safe. And just how limited resources we had to support those people was mental. So yeah, that's when I came on board, and I've been on board ever since. Queensland is my baby, but we help and travel all around Australia, and I also help co-run the Northern Territory at the moment as well.
Wow. I mean, as you say, isn't it crazy though that that was one of the first programs in the world? And as you say, this isn't a new issue. Women have always had pelvic pain, period pain, endometriosis. It's great to see that we're evolving to a stage where it's finally being, recognized, but God, it's frustrating that it's taken this long.
Yeah, exactly. It's a real balance of like so grateful for everything that we have and all the funding we've got, and that we do have this. And so many teachers, parents who see the program, their first thing is, I wish I had this when I was in high school. Like this would have changed my entire life of pain. And yeah, it's funny. You look at the teenager and be like, oh yeah, whatever, miss. But like seriously, it'll be really cool to see this cohort of young people come up who actually understand the neuroscience of pain, what's normal, not normal with their periods, and when and how to seek help. I think it's planting a seed right now. The program's only been nationwide. This is our 3rd year. So yeah, we'll see what the future holds.
And does the program, it just focuses in schools? Because I'm also thinking there's a big education piece often with medical community, with doctors, because I have endo, and I had years going to doctors in Ireland, and they were like, well, you can go on the pill or take a panel. That's it. You're just like, that's not a solution. And eventually, I got the right doctor here who was just like, obviously you have endo. Like, this is crazy. You were just dismissed for so long.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry to hear about your journey and pain and being dismissed. And I think this thing, women know their body better than anyone else. Like if you're saying this is painful, awful, and want something, and they can only give you 2 options. Like, I'm just, sorry for you. And I'm so happy. How's your management going now? We're feeling good.
It's been great. Yeah, I had the surgery. Oh, must be coming up on 5 years now. And that it's been really good. And I got the Marina IUD, and that's just been a total game changer.
Oh,
Like
awesome.
night and day.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's so brilliant to hear. Because sometimes, like some people take, I mean, you already spend years being dismissed, but so many people take so many journeys of surgery. Did it work? Did it not? The Marina, did it work? Did it not? And then, so it's awesome. But you can start to claim your life back without it being overrun with periods and pain. You have so much more to give. You're fabulous. But I forgot the question now, but
oh yeah, do you have to work with like the medical
schools
community
and
around
medical
that?
communities? Yes, so the Pelvic Pain Foundation, PEP, is kind of like a branch of it. So the Pelvic Pain Foundation focuses very, very intensely on upskilling and training health professionals. Our conference is actually next weekend in Adelaide. And it brings together, it's literally the pelvic pain conference. So it's really about upskilling all health professionals in what they can do to better treat patients. Also, last year, the federal government announced the pelvic pain and endometriosis clinics to be released Australia-wide. So we have 22 clinics that got an amount of funding to be focused as a multidisciplinary clinic for people with endo. And we were very proud to say that we invited them all on board. Susan Evans trained them up, got all the health professionals all on the same page, got them thinking the same way, using the same kind of like diagnostic tools, and we continue to support them now. Most of them, I think 80% of the clinics will be represented at our conference, and we're going to do a really good workshop. One day of the conference is sit and learn, here's the research, here's the groundbreaking things that are coming through. Then the next day is how do we actually do this for patients? So it's really, really exciting that because we want to support both sides of the consultation desk. We want the patients to feel supported, but I particularly hate going to a school, especially like in rural and regional places, knowing that they don't have a GP, or I need to make sure when I go in and I deliver this education, they actually have a doorway to help, because otherwise I feel hopeless, and they feel hopeless too. So Yeah. And our program not only is in schools, we have so many others. We have like pep talk for trans and gender diverse people. We have pep talk sessions for like IDD for their carers. We have culturally and linguistically diverse sessions. We have pep talk sports where we get to work with elite athletes. I'm going to be at the University of Queensland like all next week to help with their students too, because like I didn't get this education in school. And I think it's really important that, yes, we can empower a 14, 15-year-old to know about their pain, but their community needs to know about it too and to support them.
Yeah, and that's such a big thing. And I think that was one of the questions I had, because often a lot of this education around periods and pelvic pain focuses on women or individuals with female reproductive systems. But there is a whole education piece needed for the wider community and for men as well, so that we can support each other.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that our pep talk program is we get the school to kind of make it their own and make it bespoke to them. Some schools they've done everything co-ed since prep, so it'd be weird to separate people assigned female and people assigned male at birth. But a lot of the time we do end up like doing separate sessions. And for the people assigned male at birth, like the session is still very, very similar. We don't go as greatly into depth about what you can do for period pain and pelvic pain, but it is all about this is what happens with periods and pain. And I get so excited. I feel like Taylor Swift at the end, because I get all the people to write down a list of 5 things they're going to do to help people with periods and pain in their life. And I'm just like, what was it again? And they scream it back at me and they're like, yes, like love hearing that. We're going to ask how they're doing, ask if they're okay. We're going to bring a heat pack. We're going to check on them. We're going to do our stretches. We're going to do our breathing together. Like, it is a beautiful feeling. And I do find like people assigned male at birth are genuinely curious. Like, yes, getting a 14-year-old boy in to see me is a bit like, me, I don't get a period. What is this about? But give me 10 minutes with them and they're like so inquisitive about, oh my gosh, I didn't know you could do this. And this is what it feels like. And when you explain the neuroscience of pain, we talk, males have a pelvis too. So many beautiful young boys come into me and like, I don't have a pelvis, miss. I was like, what are you sitting on? And they have their own pain that they want to talk about as well. And it's really important that as we're, empowering women and people assigned female at birth to do this, we also empower males to know that my pain, I need to see a doctor if things are really painful, or if there's a testicular torsion, or can we stop heroing those footy players who ruptured a testicle and kept on playing? Like, just really understanding that it's okay to ask and to seek help. And, it doesn't need to be about, performance driven, penis and testicular function for men as well. It's both, but it's definitely that holistic support. We want everyone to be on the same page. And that's how you break stigma, right? Like there's no point just telling the girls, this is what you do, but keep it a secret from the boys. Like it needs to be an open conversation.
100%, because these boys are going to, become doctors, they're going to be employers, they're going to have potentially wives or daughters or sisters. It's so important that they understand how they can support the women in their life. And you can't have that unless you bring them into the conversation.
Exactly. And it's, and just like letting them be curious and ask, what they think of the silly questions. But it's really, really important because they do want to help. Like at the end of the day, they do. And I've been so many of my friends like, I had this new boyfriend. Can you just go talk to him, please? Like about how to help with what period pain is and how to, be there and support. And I always joke that my partner, absolutely adore him. He's the best man in the entire world. But like, I honestly found him very attractive because at uni, he corrected me when I was talking about menopause. And he goes, I think you mean perimenopause. And just his whole, I know, right? And just everything about like one time I had my period and, it comes in the middle of the night and I bled into the sheets and we woke up and I was like, oh, sorry, it's a bit of a pain, blah, blah. And he was like, oh my gosh, I'm just like, no, honey, are you okay? Like, let's get you up, let's get you showered. I'll change the sheets. Like I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. We love a man that's not fazed by blood. And I had the same thing with my now husband. I got gastro, which is a whole other series of bodily fluids. But I got my period the same week, and that man he cleaned every fluid and just didn't bat an eyelid. I was like, I'm gonna have to marry you now.
Yeah, that's just it. You're here to love me and give me heat packs and cuddles and just make me feel safe and marvelous. Yeah. I think it's hard. I don't want to sell it to like young boys about this, but honestly, the sexiest thing a man can do is just care.
Yeah. Honestly,
And
it's just
yeah.
that feeling of, I mean, especially when you're in pain with periods, you feel very vulnerable. So just having someone that can just sense your needs and, empathize with you, it makes a massive difference.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to like put a little, like obviously my neuroscience is coming in, but just like a little helmet on someone and see what happens to your nervous system when you do have that love and that support
Yeah.
and that connection. And I know you have to be more calm and regulated. I feel like, that is just a huge thing.
And I know you mentioned there about a lot of rural schools often don't have access to a GP where they can kind of seek support. And a lot of girls here in New Zealand, and I know overseas as well, say that they're missing out on school or work, sports even, because they don't have access to menstrual products or because of period pain. How is the Australian government what are they doing to kind of invest in those resources and address that kind of gap women are facing?
Yeah, it's huge. It's our data shows we've seen almost over 100,000 students now. So as a data person, I love playing with that. And we've seen in the latest year that 23.7% of students are regularly missing school because of their period. Like
Wow, that's
it
huge.
varies state to state, but like, can you imagine just a quarter of students are regularly missing school? Like, blows my mind. And then when you were talking about sports, we also with our sports program found that 58% of Australian women and people signing up there have said that their period does affect their training and their competition. But also you watch them and it's just there's such little research, but we know the impact is there and we know that we need to help these people. And I think the stat that always blows my mind for us is that over 50%, I think it was up to 56% this financial year, of students experience regular severe period pain.
Wow.
How can
You just can't ignore statistics like that.
No, like it's there and it's real and it's happening. And I don't like, and I love that we're in schools to say, like, I know you might not see it or hear it from the kids, but this is what we're seeing.
Yeah.
So the Australian government has been working really hard to make sure that we can try and bridge this gap. We have, like, in terms of period products, it varies state to state, but in Queensland we have a place called Share the Dignity. I know you guys in New Zealand have Dignity.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, maybe they're sisters. But they help provide. It is like more, you would have to like pay for resources to come in. And also, oh my gosh, Jacinta Ardern and free period products in every school.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I know. It was
what a woman.
So good to see. And it's something that a lot of government agencies are also pushing, because we have that in the government as well. You have a lot of people who aren't earning much and they're missing work because they can't afford products. So it's just something that I just feel so strongly should be available for all women.
Just a given, like, you're going to bleed, so let's support you. Yeah, for sure. So in terms of the Australian government, how they're supporting us for PEP Talk, they did grant $350 million for us to run out this PEP Talk over 4 years nationwide, which has been absolutely beautiful and such an incredible opportunity. They released, what was it? They were, before, for the endo clinics, they released like another few millions of dollars for that. I'm just trying to remember the exact number, but I think it was close to like 50, no, I don't know, some amount of money, a lot of money for the endometriosis and pelvic pain clinics. And then they've also, but like, just trying to think of all the money that they've spent. 350 million on PEP, millions more on the pelvic pain and endo clinics to make sure that health professionals and patients can actually be seen. And so much more has gone into, like, we have in Australia is the Australian Coalition of Endometriosis, so a whole bunch of parliamentary groups and foundations who work together to do this kind of work. So for us in Australia, super lucky that we've had PEP. I guess the only little bit disappointing thing about it was that the federal government said, we will give you this money to go to independent and Catholic schools, It is up to the state government to match that funding for you to get into state schools. So it has meant that, nationwide, everyone who goes to a Catholic or independent school can access the program for free. But like the states that hadn't come on board really shocked me. Like New South Wales hasn't come on board yet after 3 years. The Northern Territory hasn't. The Australian Capital Territory hasn't. The Victoria gave us about 18 months of funding there to go see some people, and we're still waiting to hear the outcome of a new funding process there. But that for me was a little bit of a punch in the gut, because it's the kids in state schools and territory schools who really yes, everyone needs this education, but we see that they experience so much more pain, the impact of missing school. They're presenting to health professionals far more often because they don't know whether their pain is normal or not. They need this education, and it's really hard to turn around. And like in the Northern Territory, when I go up there, it's devastating that you can be, in Nhulunbuy and a school across the road can't access the program because they're a territory school.
Yeah, that's so true. You're just cutting out so many students that just aren't accessing this. And as you say, it's so important not only to know that their pain is normal, but give them the language so that when they're going to a doctor, if the doctor is saying, no, that's fine, that they feel empowered to be like, no, I've had the talk. Kate said it's not normal.
Trust me. Kate's also gone to the GPs around every school she sees and drops off resources to be like, this is what your students learned, so be prepared to see some fresh faces coming in. But it's that, knowing their body. And because they are young, they feel like they're easier to dismiss, but also they're still coming to terms with, we're really, I think, lucky that the generation coming up are quite a lot more comfortable talking about periods and bleeding. And we've gone from when it was sneaking a pad in the sleeve of your jumper and trying not to make a crinkle noise when you open it. The girls, they're just being like, oh, who has a pad? I have my period, and just very freely asking in the middle of class, I need to leave, I need to change my pad, very open about it. But there still is that shame of having to go to an adult or a doctor who you don't know, you might not be, or they've seen you since you were 2 and now you're facing them with different problems. To make sure that and they know what their options might be. And especially the biggest thing for PEP is self-efficacy as well. So to equip students, we tell them while they're there, yes, there's so many things you can do. I also think tracking, just having a little pause there, but pain education, we know that if we can explain to someone why they're experiencing pain, that pain is not always, sometimes it is, but not always indicative of damage, but it is there to protect the body, to let you know that there are these prostaglandins being released from the uterus, that your pelvic floor muscles are getting tight and tense, and your body's giving you these signals to try and get you to pay attention, to get you to stop, to protect, to slow down. I say it with all the boys, it's like when you rolled an ankle, okay, you're getting pain there because you're not going to go play a whole game of footy and pretend nothing happened. And if we put a hand on a hot plate, we've learned, oh no, that equals tissue damage. I'm not going to do that in the future. So just for people to understand, okay, pain, we break it down as pain from the organs, because you've got your bladder, you've got your bowel as well. Period pain coming from the uterus, but also the pelvic floor muscles, but also if the nervous system gets heightened, how can we address that? And I think it's really important for students to visualize, okay, there are a lot of things that can feed into pain, but there are a lot of things that I can do to calm it as well. Yeah. So it's really nice to be able to, I know, it does suck when you go see students who they might have a locum doctor come out every once a month. I've seen students who came up to me and she was like, I'm peeing yellow-green chunks. And I was like, that's not okay. We really need to be seeing someone ASAP. And she was like, well, the next town is 3 hours away. I was like, oh my God.
That's the tough thing, isn't it? Yeah.
And it's it's a blessing and a curse, hey, that I think it's ultimately a blessing that we get to be there to be like, hey, we need to address this. I had one student out in Charters Towers, which is 2 hours west of Townsville area up north of Queensland. And you could tell she was complaining about period pains, but wasn't getting her period, but had a little bit of a mass over her tummy. You could see it and you could palpate it. and was getting this cyclical pain. And it was really important to be able to have a chat and say like, hey, like, because I flagged it. It was really beautiful to be able to see her to flag it as maybe it was a Mullerian abnormality. So something where her vagina wasn't open, or there was something blocking the period blood from getting out, which meant that it would have just sat inside. And yes, we can get rid of so much in our body, but you can see it was starting to sit in there, and that increases someone's risk of endometriosis and primes her for pain. But yeah, she wouldn't have known unless we came out to her. And so for me to be able to see her, like literally get a referral, Susan is fabulous. Dr. Susan Evans just like wrote a referral to like, take this to your GP and show them that this is exactly what needs to be done to help you out right now. So yeah. Just
it's amazing and frustrating. It's that juxtaposition, isn't it? But you know what I love about the foundation is that it's so rooted in science and medicine, because sometimes, especially on social media, you do see a lot of holistic treatments, which have their time and place, absolutely. But I do think it's so important to tie it back to, you have doctors involved in that, people who studied body and pain and really understand the biology behind it. Because I think sometimes it can be easy to go too far down that holistic route and things get missed or dismissed. So I really love that it's so rooted with and led by an amazing female doctor.
Yeah. And like, yeah, that's the thing. It's the science. And yeah, and we try our best. Like, it's really cool for students to visualize, okay, pain signals are feeding in, or these alert signals are feeding into my central nervous system, into my brain. I'm reacting to it with pain. But what can I do to cut them out in the first place? So even like just understanding, like, why would you take ibuprofen or naproxen or Ponstan? Like, what is that actually doing? Oh, it's limiting the prostaglandins that are made from my uterus that will send signals up to my brain that will give me pain. So if I don't have as many prostaglandins, I won't get that signal of pain. Like, yes, awesome, love it, let's keep moving on. So yeah, and like just understanding, I think, and yeah, really getting them to be like getting the bases covered, right? Like let's look at your sleep, let's look at your diet, let's look at your exercise. But also, yeah, what can you do? You can use your heat, you can use your anti-inflammatories, you know, maybe a TENS machine. So many people when I go to schools haven't heard of what a TENS machine does or how to use it. Yeah, and we can look to, you know, because a lot of kids do, they're really interested, especially when you're talking about hormonal options and the way that, like, now teenagers are really starting to question, do I want these hormones in my body? Do I not? And they want to be educated on it first, which I think is awesome that they have all those questions. Yeah, and then we get to educate them and just say there's a whole range of options. And there's no one thing, unfortunately, that I can just give to a student that's going to, all their period pain will be gone.
If only.
But it's really cool to give them that autonomy, that choice, that kind of like, I'm going to choose what comes in my toolkit and I'll play with one thing. And if I don't like it, I'll leave it to the side. And I know I tried it, didn't work. So yeah, I love that. But yeah, obviously there comes to a time when you really just need to go see a doctor, and you need to make sure that that doctor is going to listen to you and hear you and support you and not dismiss you.
I think you're right that understanding all the different options is so important, and doing what's right for your body. Because I know before I got the IUD put in, I had come off all contraception, because again, there has been that big movement away from any kind of contraception and not wanting to put anything in your body. And then when I was told, you know, the IUD would work really well for me, I felt a lot of shame, and I felt a bit of like, oh, like, everyone else I know is making this big movement away and, you know, kind of clearing your body of all that, and I'm doing the opposite. But it was the right thing for me, and it's completely made my life better.
Yeah.
But it is so important to have those conversations so people can understand the options and the impacts.
Yeah, exactly. And that it's their choice. And that, yeah, if you do want to, you know, like, and it's also breaking down, especially when I'm working with students, it's about breaking down the stigma and taboo around being on the pill. Not only these, you know, bioidentical, but still not natural hormones that you're putting into your body, but also I love being able to say to students, just because someone's on the pill doesn't mean they're having sex.
Yeah.
We're using it for so many other things. So can we please start to remove that stigma away from it? And it often comes down to the parents. Like, parents at that age are like, oh no, she can't be on the pill because she'll be having sex. And it's really hard to reframe it as like, this is a hormonal medication. that could be used as a treatment option.
Yeah.
Like, just like you might look to ibuprofen, you may look to progestogens, or you may look to something else. Like, it's, trying to look at it as a therapeutic hormonal option. And it is really hard when the evidence is changing so rapidly.
Yeah.
And it is really just up for what people feel best in their body. Like, I've had teachers say, like, I don't like that you mentioned the pill. I think they should be having their periods and just being embraced in their entire femininity. And I was like, yes, if you can have a period and you can map your cycle and you feel beautiful, you feel empowered, you can honor your cycle, you can bleed, and it's not going to interfere with anything. It's not going to get in the way of your life. Do it. But when it comes to growing up in pain, passing out in pain, being at school or work, but not being present because you're constantly just trying to fight off this overwhelming messaging to your brain of like, stop, protect, you're going to want to look to different options. And everything suits everyone differently.
Is that something, do you get that pushback with any of the Catholic or religious schools?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, because I went to a Catholic school and I can imagine there could be a bit of hesitancy with that.
I often joke with them and I say, am I allowed to say the C word? I'm like, contraception. And some of them are like, no, that's fine. Our kids know all about that stuff. Others say, you can, like, and I make it very clear to those students, because the students aren't silly. If I show the pill or the bar or the IUD and I explain how they work, often a student will be like, but isn't that used to prevent a pregnancy? And I'm like, yes, thank you for saying something. And then often, I make it a very clear point to be like, I'm going to talk about this. It's very much within your values and your faith and your culture as to what you want to do. But if you want to come up and ask me any one-on-one questions, I'm more than happy to have an individual chat. So it is around reframing it because when we're talking to it, we're not like a safe sex or contraceptive program. We're a program about pain. So we're really like, well, if your student's in pain, like, are you going to wipe out this whole option of therapeutic options that she could take? Or you can try your best with everything else. Or I've sat down with a lot of mothers and daughters and had the whole back and forth about what hormones mean for them. And ultimately, it's to try it, see how it feels, and if it's not for you, that's awesome. You gave it a go.
It's so interesting as well because people from different religions and different cultures have such different perspectives and attitudes towards periods, and it can make the conversations just a lot more challenging, especially if you're trying to cater to multiple different perspectives.
Yeah, big time. And that's why I guess I like that it's rooted in science and we focus on like anatomy, but you can't, like, especially with PEP for like trans and gender diverse people, they're going to be really, I find a lot of students who were born female but identify as male, just they don't want to talk about a period because it's triggering. They're a reminder every day that they're not born into the body that they want. Or I was at an Islamic school this week and they're very strict on there are two sexes and that is it. They said, don't talk about anything else. And even things like to how, like, we know in like, especially like in Caucasian culture, I mean, we've learned a lot about the hymen and what it is, and that popping your cherry isn't the be all and end all. But in a lot of Islamic schools that I go to, like, people back in some countries would have been stoned or killed if they saw that their hymen was torn. So I can't go to these students and just be like, oh, just have an IUD in, they're going to have to put in a speculum and break your hymen, but it doesn't matter. It's, it's a whole construct anyway. Like, it's really important to understand, and then you have like Christianity and what people's faith and values are in that. And it's, but also like working with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and First Nations people. Like, it's very strict for them. And it's so different every community you go to. Like, working between Queensland and the Northern Territory, I can be down in different parts of the Northern Territory and it's very strict of women's business, men's business. Like, none shall cross. And sometimes I literally had one of our educators had the whole setup. They have our, pelvis model there with all the different, show and tells, the menstrual cups and the hormonal medications. And someone literally jumped across the entire desk and swiped off everything because a male was walking past this glass door and could see into it. So, but then you also, like, up in Darwin, there was a GP who's like, no, this is a really important culture, but sometimes we do need to start challenging some norms, and maybe just to the point where men need to understand why women's business is so important. and why they need to support them going to, whether that's like breastfeeding circles or just having their mothers groups. And it doesn't need to be all the nitty gritties, but it does need to be some form of understanding. So, and you're like, some people just, so many things, free bleeding, and whether people feel more natural, comfortable with that, how some Aboriginal people don't believe in swimming when you have your period, or some it's only swimming in fresh water and not, or like salt water and not fresh because you can't be in drinking supplies. There's so much to consider, but it's really beautiful.
Yeah, it can almost feel sometimes, I think, like information overload, because I see even now with period products, I mean, there's so many amazing products, but then again, you get a lot of things, around tampons, and are they leaching things into you, and is it better to use cups? And yeah, it can be a lot of information, especially if you're just, maybe it's your first time getting your period and you don't really know where to go and you can't openly talk with some people about it. There's a lot of things to consider.
Yeah, big time. And how is a 14-year-old who's scrolling down TikTok like going to figure out what's best for them? And I think, that's the biggest thing, is if people can afford it, it's choice. Like there are some brands like Modi Body who just have like a first period pack, and they give a sample of everything. So if, period undies are for you, you can give them a go. You can try a menstrual cup. A lot of young people I see are very intimidated by the idea of something going inside their body.
Yeah.
So they very much prefer like their period swimwear, their undies, their pads. But also, again, like understanding what's a sustainable option and how do we make sustainable options work at school.
I love that the period underwear has become a thing, because I used tampons for years, and then I had a cup, and now just period underwear. I'm like, this is living. Like I'm so comfortable. There's nothing inside me. It's changed my life.
So good. And and like once you try them, like you realize like, there's no leakage. There's nothing like, it's so, freeing. It's different to having a pad on. Pads feel a bit like, bit like that they're holding something. But period undies sometimes feel a bit lighter than that. Also like the challenges for kids at school of like, well, I need to get through a whole day of school, but I'm a really heavy bleeder. And I know I'm going to flood some period undies, even if they hold 20 to 30 mils. So just like educating them about, well, maybe are we going to pop a pad on top and halfway through the day rip that off, or do you feel comfortable like having a little bag to put your used knickers in and then put fresh ones on halfway through the day? So it's a lot to consider and a lot to understand, and I think it's really about going back to like again the research. I feel, and we need to honor it, like women have been in such a space of, we've been like screaming for just like to be heard, to be seen, to know that our pain is real, that we want help. And sometimes I think it can be like the tampons and the ideas of like leads and metals getting into our bodies. It's just really important to like take a step back and be like, what is this? And like, I guess looking to the whole big picture, like how much lead are we exposed to every single day?
Absolutely.
And I had one nurse be like, well, how are you advocating for the pill when it's a type 1 carcinogenic? And I was like, so much for it. Like, I was like, that is a statement, and we can unpack so much of that. And I literally went down a whole rabbit hole. But it was also just like for me a reminder of like, well, there's lots of any processed meats that a kid eats, black stuff on toast, like aerosol. There's a lot of things that they're going to be exposed to in their environment that is a type 1 carcinogenic. But also the research is still evolving. Like we're still so far. Yes, if you have breast cancer in your family, obviously estrogen pills not for you, stay away. But if it is something like ovarian cancer and cervical cancer, we're seeing the pill might actually decrease your risk. So what's it gonna do? But it also increases your risk of breast and cancer.
It's always evolving and changing, and we're learning more every day. And you can only do your best with what you know right now.
Exactly.
But speaking of research, I really wanted to ask you, you have found some difference in the pain between metro and regional, or kind of people who identify as Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander versus those who don't. Can you tell me a little bit more about the research and the findings from that?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm working on a research article to come out in literature, which would be very, very, very cool. It should be out by the end of the year, touch wood. But we pretty much, every single session we go to, we give students what's called the PPEP tool. So it's the Period and Impact Questionnaire. So it's pretty much to understand. We ask them 5 questions: regular severe pain, do you miss school or work, does your period cause significant interference, do you have bladder or bowel pain, have you ever felt that something's wrong with your period? And so what we found for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people is that every single one of those 5 impact measures of pain was significantly higher.
Wow.
Significantly, like to the point where, like, as I said before, if we just take the non-Indigenous people and then people who are like First Nations people are experiencing over 60% are experiencing regular severe pain, when non-Indigenous people are experiencing 49%. Like, that's
a huge difference.
Like we're looking at like, an 11% difference.
And is there kind of any evidence of like what's brought that about? Yeah.
So much that we're going to need to explore, and I hope to explore in future papers. But I mean, like, the answer's right in front of us, right? Like, we look right back to colonization. We've come into lands that are theirs, that they felt connection and growth and healing. They had traditional medicine and healing medicine. They had all these things that they taken away. And if I'm really thinking like right down to like a nervous system that is like calm and connected and feels safe and secure, I think it could be a big part of like that intergenerational trauma, feeling like you're growing up on stolen land, just so being removed from culture. I feel like that has a huge role to play in how primed your nervous system is. I liken it to like having a guard dog, right? Bear with me, little story. But you know how some of us have a guard dog or like a dog who's just, they bark at the right things, right? Like they bark at someone trying to break in or a new person coming to the door. Then you have another kind of dog who just barks at anything. Like a butterfly, a change in the wind, the vibes are a bit high. And then I liken those 2 different dogs to our pain systems. So like people with a quite normally regulated pain system, it's going to go off at the right things. But for those people, maybe like First Nations people, who their nervous system is primed, it's going to be going off quickly and to things that wouldn't cause pain in someone who didn't have a primed nervous system. So how can we restore that relationship? But I mean, so much more of like access, health literacy, can they see a doctor they feel comfortable with? That whole question of women's business, men's business. Like, if there's a locum doctor who comes out every month and it's male, who are you going to see?
Yeah.
I think it'll be, so much work to do there.
That'll be a hugely interesting piece of research, and also would be so interesting to see it replicated in other countries. Because I'm even thinking here in New Zealand, it would be so interesting to see, your European New Zealanders versus your Maori. I imagine there could be similarities if that is the case of that colonization and the impact on your nervous system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think it would be really, impressive. And I love in Deb Bush's program, the What About Menstrual Education program. It uses traditional language throughout, like traditional concepts of, what is right, not only for you, but for your body, for your family. Like, how do we holistically map how to treat our pain and how to look at it? So I'd love to have a chat with Deb and be like, what's your data showing? Like, is it showing that because you're really tying in cultural significance and honoring, connection to land and sea and family? Are you now seeing that actually there's less of a discrepancy between First Nations people and people who, don't identify? So, lots of work to happen here. But I just want to give like all First Nations people a big hug and just be like, I'm here, I'm going to fuck everything up, I'm going to get it wrong, but I'm like, I'm here, I want to learn and grow and help.
Yeah.
So,
And for anyone who is listening and doesn't know, so Deb Bush is based here in New Zealand, and her What About Me is a period health program that goes into schools here. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So they started off being in schools, and then I think between funding and also like lots of consumer feedback, I think they really were just like, well, it's actually better online. We're going to reach more people online. It's more accessible. They have now made their What About Me program, which really like so accessible. All you need to do is jump on the periodhealth.nz website, and the module starts like the moment you press any button, pretty much. And for schools, like any school can jump on it. you can really do it because it goes from like basic period anatomy all the way through to like endometriosis, pelvic pain, where to find help. So yeah, anywhere from, if you're having students with periods at a really young age, then maybe you can be thinking about grade 3 or 4. But for most people, probably year 5 and up. And it probably would take about, there's 4 modules, so probably like a module per lesson. So you might take about 4 lessons for students to like individually on their laptops work through the activities. But it also has education and training for teachers as well. So the teachers can feel a bit more upskilled. So yeah, Deb's an absolute queen. She's done awesome with that program, and I'm really excited to see it's reached a lot of people. Just making sure that like it's in schools. Like, how do we make sure like it's in the curriculum and kids have this access?
Awareness for these type of programs that, you know, the foundation is doing and Deb is doing is just so important to just keep getting it out there and making people aware that there are resources available.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think, that's the biggest thing is you don't know till what you don't know. Like you don't know what's out there. And then people see this program, like even PEP, and they're like, I can't believe it's free. I can't believe we can just access this. I can't believe all the things that you just suggested that can help, and the scaffolding that we provide. So yeah, it's really cool. You also have some beautiful people in New Zealand, like Michael Wynne Williams. He is a gynecologist and obstetrician. He had played a big role in me getting into this job, because I used to work at an anatomical facility. So where people would come and donate their bodies to science, I would take you into care and pop you into where you need to be and get you ready for when the doctors need to practice medical procedures. And he would always make me feel so included when he'd come in and do his laparoscopy workshops and be showing doctors, you know, how to train them to do a laparoscopy. He was like, Kate, get in here. Like, you know, what is this structure? And I was like, oh, I'm just a little lab tech, but thank you. It was so sweet. And you also have Lara Bryden, who is like published 3 like huge key books about like the period repair manual, the hormone repair manual. She's a naturopath, also based in New Zealand.
Wow.
So
okay,
we've got some good resources there.
that's
obviously
awesome.
the pelvic pain website's a great resource as well. We've got our tips and tricks and stretches for you to download. And even like, I mean, ultimately all your health professionals can prescribe to pelvic pain and become subscribers themselves and upskill. We have bi-monthly sessions that they like just jump on. We have someone different every time kind of presenting on like bladder pain or bowel pain, or acupuncture for pain has been one, or what the effects of the pill are, and how it affects breast density. And so they can jump on at any time. But also, I mean, you'd have to pay for us to be like there to do the pep talk, which would suck. So, and I think Deb's just doing a fabulous job over in New Zealand, so I don't want to step on her toes. She's doing beautifully. But your health professionals, if they need a hand, go to PPFA.
And then can I ask as well, before we kind of start wrapping up, you spoke a little bit about the elite sports program you do, and I guess how period and pelvic pain affects that. I'm really interested in that because I think as a woman, there's been a really nice shift in the last couple of years towards acknowledging the impact your cycle has on working out. Because I think for quite a long time, we were really trying to fit into your typical male cycle, which is, you can go out and do the same training every week, and you can't. And I think, you know, as women, sometimes you feel like you're failing at working out because you weren't able to do something today that you did last week. And there's such an education to acknowledge the role that your cycle plays and how you need to adapt your exercise to support your body.
Yeah, exactly. And I love one PT I said when I came in to do the session, was like, but they'll just use it as an excuse not to come to gym that week. And I was like, you need to be here more than anyone, mate. I think the research, we haven't found any like concrete evidence. Like, people win gold medals while they're bleeding.
Yeah.
But people can also just need a week to like curl up and do maybe a lot more restorative, slow exercise that moves for them. So far the evidence and what we show in this, like the Pep Talk sports program, is to know your cycle, to know how you track. If you're someone at the gym, track your 1 rep maxes throughout different points of your cycle. Or if you're a sprinter, tracking your times and seeing how you feel, track your recovery, and really understand for you what feels good and what feels like you're honoring and nurturing your body. Because the male testosterone cycle is 24 hours. So they're going to wake up day by day feeling pretty much the same. Their testosterone peaks around 9 a.m. earlier in the morning, then falls away in the afternoon. But then they're going to wake up the same. So yeah, really for women understanding, even like, because all our levels of testosterone are different, you know, when tracking, when you do ovulate, how does that make you feel? That little peak of testosterone that comes after ovulation do you actually feel like that makes me feel like I can recover faster, that I'm stronger? So it is really, it's understanding you. We still have so much work to do because there's so much. That was an article that came out recently about women are actually performing better and have less oxidative stress during periods with exercise. And it's like, oh my God, I can't find I'm just trying to find some logic here about.
It's just so individual. I think that's the big thing with periods is you can't compare your cycle to anyone else. It's just what feels right for you and listening to your body.
Exactly. And I think that's the most
hard.
Yeah, it is. It is. And especially I was also thinking about like the workplace program, how workplaces can be more accommodating. So like, yes, providing, period products to me should be like a standard. Yes, there should be period products in the bathrooms and a nice sanitary bin to put things in. But yeah, just even understanding that, your employees might change. Like, could you imagine an incredible world where women just lived by their cycle and lived by how they felt? And imagine if, yes, your follicular phase is where you're abundant with energy, and maybe you have a workplace where you can work longer days because you know that by the time you get to period time, you're going to have to work some shorter days. So literally like living into your cycle. I think we would live in such a different world if we had women really like putting how they feel and their energy, and instead of us trying to fit this 28-ish day flow of hormones into a 24-hour day by day cycle, how different and how like different our well-being would be. And I know so many people like they can live it, like some people make sure when they're booking meetings or booking to do like big talks or presentations, they'll book less for when they're during their period time because they can honor that, or and book a whole lot more. They'll feel more outgoing maybe, so do more connections and networking and conferences during ovulation time. And it's again about like that freedom and flexibility to honor you. And I think workplaces doesn't even have to be like that huge. Like you can even just having a sit-stand desk, or having the ability to to do some movement, to do some pelvic pain stretches, to
work from home,
have a heat pack, have a microwave, even be mindful about what uniforms. Like people with persistent pelvic pain don't want to wear a belt on their waist all the time. So like all of those uniforms where it might feel quite tight and restrictive, like can we look to something else that makes people feel more comfortable coming to work? There's just, so much. When you really look at it, there is a lot you can do, and you can do right now. You don't need to wait for change or wait for for governments to make huge, overwhelming decisions. You can do things right this minute.
And I guess kind of on that note, for anyone listening to this who are going through really tough period pains or experiencing any kind of abnormal pelvic pain, what's your kind of key takeaways that you'd love people to know, or resources you'd love them to check out?
Oh, so many. I guess like I really hope those people, if you are sitting here and being like, just first things first, like what is a normal average period? Like just the very simple things about how many days are we bleeding? Like if you're bleeding more than 7 days, 7 to 10 days, if you're having spotting between cycles, that's worth seeing a doctor. If you have cycles that are shorter than 21 or more than 35 days every single time, again, worth seeing a doctor. And again, like, when your pain's not real. Like women, we are born with pain. So we know exactly when we need to see someone. So if you are experiencing pain where, if you are feeling lightheaded or feeling nauseous or feeling like you can't get to work, or when you are at work, you're not present. Like you can't be there because you're just fighting through your body to try to be there. Please, go find a doctor who will listen and take care. Yes, there are so many things you can do for yourself. Understand your cycle. There's an awesome app. There's so many apps like Flow and Clue. One that I particularly love is Quendo, Quendo. It's a free app and it acts like a period tracker, but also like a journal. So you can write in all your medical notes, every symptom that you're feeling through every different time of your cycle. They also have 24/7 peer support. So if you do just want someone to talk to who gets it, Like, you can message them, they can call you. It's a really awesome app and a program that you can access as well. So yeah, tracking your cycle. If you are taking your anti-inflammatories, please remember to take them early. Please don't wait until the pain's awfully bad. Be the boss of your pain. Take it early. Get on top of that prostaglandin production. Suppositories, I know, sound a bit funny, but a medication up the bottom, so like Voltaren, diclofenac. You talk to your doctor about that. It may be really great for those people who need like 10 to 12 hours of pain relief, or people who get those really awful period headaches and migraines. Yeah. Hormone option, find what works for you. Like, listen to your body, listen to your cycle. If you try a new one, give it 3 to 6 months. It's not working for you. You're the boss of your body. You're the boss of your pain. You tell a doctor, I'm getting migraines, I'm breaking out, my breasts are really tender, whatever. If it's impacting you, it's important. And most importantly, for those people who really do have awful pain, I'm so sorry. Just having a multidisciplinary team around you. So not only your GP, not only your gynecologist, and yeah, surgery can be really, really helpful for some people, but also your pelvic physios. They are saints. If you can try to access one. I know in Australia, we're very fortunate that we have these clinics where you're funded to go see someone, but if you can see someone just to understand, because that often what people describe as their worst pain, that sharp shooting, stabbing, I can't move kind of pain, that's often coming from your pelvic floor muscles. So if we can see someone to relax those muscles and to understand, to build them and like to strengthen them and relax them, hugely important. Obviously, if it is acupuncture or Chinese medicine that works better for you, yeah, really getting a dietitian, a nutritionist, a pain specialist, even like there are pain psychologists out there who will help you understand, because gosh, I would hate to live in a life where I am constantly worried about this might trigger my pain, but if I eat this, I'm going to have some pain. And if I go out, I can't book this because I'm going to have, like, how is that mentally impacting your well-being would be huge. So yeah, there are lots of people to go see. Check out our website. We have a list of health professionals that you can find when you search there. We also have some health professionals that go to like on telehealth, but also just go to Pep Talk on Instagram and PPFA. Pep Talk is just at PPEP Talk, and PPFA is the same. Look at our resources there. We're constantly uploading things about like what supplements have been shown to be really helpful during period time, like magnesium and zinc, and how to take it appropriately. So plenty of resources there. And if you want to, book a pep talk. If you're around, if you're in Australia and you're listening, book a pep talk. We're fabulous. And for the health professionals listening, I hope you're subscribing to PPFA.
We're definitely going to tag all of the resources in our post when we share this, because there's just so much you mentioned there that I think are, so valuable. And I think just seeing all those resources can just make people feel so empowered and feel like there's some control they can take and steps that they can take to really help get their pain under control, which just those little steps make such a difference.
There's hope. You're not
yeah. Oh, what a beautiful note to end on. There is hope. Oh, Kate, thank you so much. This has just been such an empowering conversation. And I'm in awe of the work that you're doing. It's incredible. And I really think, as you say, you're doing amazing work, especially for the next generation, to make sure that they have a voice and the language to understand pain and advocate for themselves. And I just think society is going to benefit from that. So thank you so much for the work you do and everything the foundation is doing.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been absolutely beautiful. And thank you for heroing women's voices and strong, beautiful, empowered women. Your entire podcast is just like listening to women roar. So thank you for all the work that you do and continue to inspire us with. Thank you.